Thanks for joining us for another episode of Homegrown, brought to you by the South Dakota Stock Growers and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I'm really excited for you guys to join us this week as we travel out to the Drycreek Ranch, just east of Rapid City, owned and operated by Sean and Christy Freeland. Now, Sean and Christy are passionate about soil health and everything that goes into regenerative agriculture and what that means to the nutrient-dense food that they produce. But stick around and you'll find out where you can purchase some of their high-quality food and other products right here in Rapid City.
Welcome to Computa. Yeah. Actually, there's two pens right here. I'll get them in this first pen, and then you can probably do whatever you want, okay? Moss. Actually, this one would work.
3 up front, 1 in the back.
Okay. You guys hearing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Spilled my coffee. That's the worst part of my day so far. So we're bringing in some beef. We'll sell to our people want to know where their food's coming from. So we're making grass-fed beef, grass-finished beef, and selling to local consumers. That's kind of our mission, to get her to them.
And all we're doing from your ground is taking a little bit of beef off of there, or the rest of those nutrients and carbohydrates and carbons that all stay in there. We're taking the beef in here to a local processing shop, and then you'll pick that up here in a few weeks after it's hanged and dry aged and been cut up and butchered, and be nice, vacuum packed, ready to go sell retail.
Morning.
How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Morning, boys. Two and two.
It is a little. That wind will get you.
2 and 2. We're and roll it.
And cut.
And cut.
That's good.
Did you guys know you're going to be TV stars today?
He's ready?
Doctor, do you concur?
I concur. Doctor?
So you hang after you put everything down, it'll be the water.
Grass-fed, corn-fed. Kidding. Sorry. So these are goats? Kitsons?
Lambs.
Lambs.
Kits and lambs.
Kitsons. We know Kitsons.
So
They'll come in here until the neighbors will cut them or set them up.
I don't have any left in here, do I? Mine are all. There's some stuff aging back there.
that's a lean one there, huh?
Ribeyes aging, primals.
All stamped.
All right, let's keep moving.
Cool.
Right on through.
Keep it moving. But they come in here stress-free, get basically knocked out, because that's federal law. And so they don't feel any pain. They just get it right to the head, knocked out, cut and bled out, and right, hung up and washed and everything. So everything that could contaminate them goes down the drain here or out the back door, and the inedible stuff, and only the clean carcass goes into the hot box where it can't be contaminated. So Sean, Christy, just tell us how you got started and when you came to this piece of ground right here.
So on this piece of ground, we purchased in 2004, October of 2004, right? Moved out here, brought our cows out, and then that was our passion, cows and grass. So that started ranching conventionally and
Sure.
did everything that all our neighbors did.
Right.
We knew we needed a change. It got dry in 2016, and we were spending a lot of money on inputs. One of the first things we did was we had a crop that we would normally hay. It was winter triticale, and we decided to graze that instead of hay it and see if we could hold on to our cows a little bit longer. It blew us away, the difference that made just by grazing it instead of haying it. And then, so that kind of led us down a different road. And then we decided to kind of look into graze irrigated ground, and basically if we could do that profitably. And we really couldn't find any information on it to see if we could do that, but we just kept digging, and the more we dug, the more avenues were opened and more ideas came to us. And what we found out now, looking back, basically what we found out is we didn't need to be spread out. We wanted more land, more cows.
So you're always trying to get bigger because bigger is better, and that's the conventional thinking, right?
Right, we were always trying to get bigger. And once we stopped all of that and started looking around, we're like, wow, we could do this over here, we could do this over here.
One of the things that, I think is just really awesome about you guys is you obviously have a passion not only for the soil and for regenerative ag and for doing things the right way, but probably what I see even more passion from you guys is trying to teach others about that and really educating people. Tell us what that looks like.
Well, one of the things we do is instead of a corn maze in the fall, so we have the pumpkin patch and a maze, it's actually a cover crop maze. So we grow about 15 different species. Some of them are short, some of them are tall, but there's turnips and radishes and kale and collards and clovers. And so we'll have kids come on school trips, and we'll give them a card and show them those different plants and say, go find those and bring them back. And so those kids get to go through that maze and find all these different plants and bring them back. And so that's one of the things, and that was hopefully to generate that conversation that says, why did you grow this instead of corn? And then we could go into the whole soil health thing and say, because there's diversity there, all these living roots are doing different things in the soil all the time. But it's kind of grown from there to the hay rides we do are more of an educational. We take them more around the ranch and show different things on the ranch. We'll drive by the pasture pigs and some of the grass-fed beef and just our cows and in general, and just show them the land, and all those little things, all those little moving parts that go with it.
Yeah.
I went to a field that was conventional tillage and dug this soil up, and then I went to my field that's been non-conventional and no-tilled and had livestock and had lots of diversity added to it. And so we try to always keep a living root in our ground, and where this one was bare and they tried to not let anything grow, tried to keep the weeds out, and so they kept it tilled up, and if there was weeds, they sprayed them out. And over here, we didn't till it, and we tried to plant something year-round. So all we're going to do, we're just going to see what happens, and I honestly don't know if it'll work, because we've tried this a few times, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to put an inch of rain on there, on each one, and see what happens. And I'm no soils guy. I'm just a producer that's fascinated with how this works, and then I start to see the dollar signs. If it starts working and I can store more water in my soil, to me that's easy money. So why wouldn't you do it? It's healthier for the land, it's healthier for the livestock, and then ultimately healthier for us. So let's just dump an inch of rain on here and see what happens. Pretty stark contrast. It's pretty I don't know, to me that blows me away every time. Usually we don't get any runoff on ours, But I got to thinking when I took this sample, it had so many roots and stuff, so you take the sample and pull it out of the ground. It had so many roots and stuff underneath it, I took the shovel and scraped it off, which was the same thing as a tillage pass. I did exactly what you would do with a plow. I sheared off the roots and flipped it over. So I actually sealed up a lot of the pores underneath this one. But even with that, you can see how much of the water ran through, and we stored it in the profile. So anything that we put on top of that soil to amend it, herbicides, fungicides, all that stuff that's on top of the soil ran off. And the other part of it is the best part of our soil is only the thickness of a piece of paper on top of the ground. So about an acre, a sheet of paper equals about an acre of our best nutrients. So they just ran off. Or here, at least we got to store some of it. That didn't work like it normally does, but it's pretty, even this water that did run off is clean and clear and good. So that's one little test.
But now we're starting to really dig into this soil biology field, and there's just new things being discovered all the time of what a web of life there is underneath of us. And I think we've always sort of known that, but with modern day research and technology, they're starting to see more and more of the interconnectedness of the below ground ecosystem. And it's just fascinating to me that they've done this. And most people have no idea.
Yep, there's life above ground, there's life in the air, there's life in the ocean. Why wouldn't there be life under? And it's the driving force of everything. If you don't have life there, if you're not infiltrating water, you don't develop springs.
Well, that's the thing.
Infiltrating water, you have runoff.
So when we till, when we disturb that, when we're turning all this soil over, and water's just running off and taking it, it's not just taking soil, it's taking life, it's taking that entire ecosystem and turning it on its head, and a lot of times blowing it or washing it away. And now we come to that point where we need to start figuring out that that's got to stay there if we want to survive, if we want to continue to thrive, if we want to feed. There's going to be 10 billion people on this earth within the next 30 years. If we want to feed an extra couple of billion people, we got to figure out how this soil thing works, and we got to spread that news all over.
Look at that one.
Look at the size of that one.
Look at that guy.
Don't break it. Woo!
Good one. You can see the soil on these. See the aggregation starting to form on the soil there. Even this is wet, but it's a good sign when you start to see it looking like Dippin' Dots or chocolate cake or
Crumbs.
More crumbs than fine stuff.
Well, that sounds awesome. I want to buy some pasture pork and some ranch-raised Drycreek beef. How do I do that?
Oh, it'll cost you. Oh, it's going to cost you. Oh. So you can, we do sell at Red Rock Grocery Store in Rapid, and then you can get online. We have an online store, and you can come right out to the ranch and buy some. We'd love to give you a tour, show you around, show you what we do. You can see the difference in the types of soils, the soil structures. You can see the living soil versus non-living soil. And those nutrients are in that living soil. Those microbes and bugs and all those things are always working and harvesting different nutrients from different mineral sources in the ground and feeding those plants. And there's a synergy that goes on there between the animals, the plants, and the soil life. So yeah, I think there's definitely a difference. Like our education part of it is a big deal to us.
Well, the strain that not having or not thinking that we had a voice after Storm Atlas, and the disconnect that was there between the producers and the town that all the producers spend essentially all their income in. And that, I think that desire was overwhelming for us to connect with the consumer, to connect with our community, but we didn't know how to do that.
Right.
And so it's definitely a priority, and one that in our management we look for those opportunities. And Sean being generous with his time is, because he doesn't want that disconnect again. We want to be transparent. We want people to know where their food comes from. We want them to know how hard people in agriculture work, regardless if you're doing a regenerative model like we are or more conventional.
Right.
These are the hardest working people out there.
In our conventional farming, I guess, what we were trying to get away from was tillage. So we didn't want to disturb the soil, so we could keep all those biology and mycorrhizae, fungi, and all that stuff growing, so we could always be building soil. And if you think about disturbance, it's not just with iron, it's with chemicals. So we're trying to get away from using chemicals. And so we're trying to work with plants and use those to control our weeds. So we use this is called a crop roller or a roller crimper. So we'll plant like winter rye or winter triticale, and it'll get that tall in June. And when it starts to pollinate a little bit, then we hook up to this and drag it over the top. And these blades, they don't cut it, they just break the stems. Okay, so the slump test, this is all Christy's idea. So she saw the slump test.
Maybe Christy should explain the slump test.
On the spot.
Keep going. Slump test.
Yeah, you do it a little bit. No. That was a knife. So the slump test is a new one for me. I've only done it a few times, but it's pretty amazing the difference. So basically, you just take the same types of soil that I just described, one from a conventional and one from a non-conventional type. Hopefully it becomes more conventional, but take those two different types of soils and you put them in a pan, and you take a handful of each and put them in a screen, and then put them in a cup, and then put half inch of rain on those. And you can see immediately the one is running through and the other one is running off. And then if you let those soak without touching them, which I haven't done that yet much.
And part of that, when you say running through, on that test, it's like, oh, well, you're losing all that water through. Well, if that's out in the field,
right,
that's not running through, that's soaking in. That's infiltrating. That's not, it's the opposite of ponding on top and then running off. It's actually getting into our soil.
Yeah, good point. I didn't, it's not running, it's soaking. So anyway, we'll pour a little water on this one that came from my field. And see how the water's running through. Doing good, just about got the cup full. And dump a little water on this one. I got to go a lot slower on this, and it still won't infiltrate the water. I'll just wait. There it goes, it's running off already. Same amount of water, just dumped it on here slower, so we'll just let them sit there for a second. So water, just like in the ocean, has pressure, and to all those microbes and soil, all that stuff is getting pressure put on it when you dump water on it, or if it rains. The other thing you can think of is, like if this was tilled and you splash water on it from a raindrop, that would actually move that soil. And the impact of the raindrop would move that soil, and you don't want your soil moving. If it moves the soil, then it runs off. So let's check out our structure here. There's our freshly built community, and there's one that had a tornado go through it 2 or 3 times a year. So that can't sustain life. Nothing can live in between the pores here. Or this one, water can run through all the biology, mycorrhizae, all those little critters, worms, and all that can live there. They're here, it just drowned. So it's a huge difference. And we haven't been doing these practices that long. We've only been doing them for 5, 6 years. And there's a huge difference. This is right across the fence, same types of soil. It's clay type soils. It's a pretty, I don't know. This was Christy's idea to do the slump test, and I didn't realize the impact it has until you look at it. So again, I'm just a rancher, but to me, that's money.
Tailor rides just as well as any man.